What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast Youthoughts. For this very second episode, we are bringing to you brand new conversation. We're bringing to you brand new faces. Just before we get into the new episode and everything that we've prepared for you today, I'd just like to take the first 2 seconds, Vanessa, just so that we can relook at the first episode and what did you think about it? What was your perception of the episode as a whole?
I think it was really interesting. It was an eye-opener for sure. I learned that I have to pick a side, really, but I don't want to. I don't like being boxed, so I don't know. Have you registered to vote?
I have a very good question. So as we expand and as we continue through the conversation, answers will be coming in terms of voter registration.
Yeah.
But so we're back again in Harare for the second episode. Like I've said, Youth Thoughts. We're out here to bring many different conversations, and mostly for the youth, right? We are aiming to attract the focused youths, the unfocused youths, pretty much everyone. So would highly encourage that if you're watching the episode and if you're following, please give us feedback, give us your comments, tell us what you like, give us the conversations that you'd like us to have, the people you'd like us to talk to. As you indicate, we'll make sure to bring those conversations and bring those people. But for today, we've got a very, very special guest. And I would just let the man introduce himself. A very interesting young chap from Harare that we have today, and we are going to be conversing and discussing with him. So we're so honored to have you, Chibaba. Just take this moment to just introduce yourself. Let the people know who you are, what you're about, and
Of course. The name Chibaba definitely carries weight. I don't want to carry that much weight on my shoulder right now. But my name is KayC Jr. A rapper, music entrepreneur. I'm into the arts, creative arts. I'm into events as well. So that's me. Anything that has to do with music, events, that's where we are. Southern Africa, Namibia, all over. That's what's up.
Oh man, this man has been everywhere. It's like literally this all of Southern Africa. So for today, we essentially want to focus more on the arts in Zimbabwe. Now, when we talk of the arts, this is a very broad sort of subject. Mm-hmm. We have musicians, we've got dancers, we've got radio talents, we've got people that do lots of different things. Saga is our country Zimbabwe at a place where we are conducive for these talents? Growing up in this country, just like everyone else, right? You know kuti academics are really a thing. You need to be academically there. If you were to present talents which don't necessarily align with academics, chances are you would by all means be dissuaded from that and being moved towards academics. I'd like us to have that conversation today. What's really happening and whether or not it is the right thing to do, because I do believe that Zimbabwe's got loads of talented young people.
I think we're more artistic than anything else. Like we're everywhere, but I think majority is in the arts and humanities. Yeah.
And that's how talented we are as a country. So like the culture that we then have, how does that impact that talent? Because I feel like if you are being told not to do it, if you're told to focus on something else, even though you have the talent, it doesn't necessarily, it's not natured, it doesn't grow. Internationally, we don't have that much representation, Mr. KayC.
But I think it's an issue of structures. We don't have structures in Zim, especially that support the arts. Of course, you have the organizations here and there, but so when we talk of structure, we're saying, all right, from grassroots level, what type of support is there for the artists? Are the artists able to properly monetize? Because let's talk of music, for example. Musicians in Zim right now monetize through shows mostly. And we all know, because of the sanctions we have in Zim, monetization on YouTube is different from the guys monetizing in South Africa. Because in South Africa, they have big advertisers there. through YouTube. This side, you can have 1 million views here and probably get 3K. But in SA, $3,000 for 1 million. In SA, they could get 6 or 7 because of advertisers. So because we're under sanctions, there are certain brands who are not able to advertise this side. So now in Zen, we're now stuck at, I need to get shows. And how many shows are there? You get what I'm trying to say.
100%,
so
yeah.
Not a lot though.
The thing is, you have a whole lot of artists, and not everybody is supposed to
be an artist.
I think to a certain extent.
Yeah,
to a certain
okay.
Fair.
And you're looking at, all right, you have 1,000 artists, right? Every month in Harare.
Yeah.
All right, let's exclude clubs because clubs always rotate the same DJs and whatnot.
Sure.
You always have those 15 DJs, you know that they're the ones playing. If you go to Pablo's, if you go to where, they're the ones playing.
Yeah.
So from the artist side of things, you have 10,000 artists.
Yeah.
Music artists in Harare. How many events are happening? We have probably 4 events happening every month, big events, with a lineup of probably 20 artists in total. What happens to the other
artists?
Yeah,
well, do you think we have why do we have so many artists? Is this a normal thing? Because I mean, to be fair, we've got many dancehall artists. This I know for a fact. I was actually just listening to around 2013, Zimbo Flavor Redeem, Body Slam Redeem. I was listening to that today and I was thinking, you know, there were like too many artists, like so many. Is that like normal, or is it just that we're very talented?
I think it's an issue of, all right, cool. We have a whole lot of nurses.
Oh man.
Plenty.
Are we medically talented?
We never hear the faculty of medicine at UZAT saying, man, this is our some Zim.
Yeah.
Let's cut, of course. Some of them don't have jobs.
True.
The same for the arts. We just have that traditional method of saying the arts. You get what I'm trying to say. But it's an industry on its own.
Yeah.
Just without structures.
What are the structures that are needed, though?
All right, when we talk of structures, all right, cool. We start at an artist needs to survive.
Right.
So how are they going to be able to monetize their content?
Right? Okay.
We're talking YouTube, we're talking radio. You can be played big time on radio, but you won't get nothing. The most paid artist the past 2 years should be Winky D or Jab Praiser via radio. Then you end up saying, the money they're getting doesn't even make sense.
Do you know how much they're getting?
2 years ago, I'm not sure whether it was Jab Praiser or Winky D, 100 and something thousand RTGS.
RTGS?
Whoa, I mean, if it was 2 years ago, then it was worth something, isn't it? I mean, currently it's not worth very much, but like...
It's RTGS, though.
But still, look at the brand.
Fair.
We're talking 365 days a year. It's being played everywhere.
Yeah.
So between the two guys, who would you say is the biggest? I felt like you knew that question was coming. Who would you say is the biggest between the two guys? So we're talking Winky D, Jab Praiser.
I'm a very big Winky D fan.
Does that mean he's the biggest, or you like him?
Not the biggest. I think in terms of impact and in terms of, I think Jab Praiser definitely. Yeah.
You think Jab Praiser is the biggest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
he's more talented.
More talented. What's the barometer? How are you measuring that?
He can sing, he plays instruments, he acts as well, and
Jab Praiser is an actor.
He is, like in his
he does like that. Yeah, fair. That's okay.
Yeah, and I think he can maybe dance. I've never seen him actually dance, but you know.
Yeah, untalented. I think he can.
Because I've never seen him dance.
It's very difficult to measure talent.
I
think when we say biggest, we're now talking of achievements. We're talking numbers. That's what I'm looking at it. When you're talking when you mention the term biggest, look at YouTube numbers for Winky D and YouTube numbers
for Jab Praiser.
Yeah, and I'm looking at I'm looking at the followers. I'm looking at impact also on the ground. Yeah, so yeah.
quite interesting. So you said earlier kuti ma paramount face akaro song kuti bazar mangoma razarisa ungaburika. Do you know the guy? That's like Chapman or something. Chapsman or something like that. Yeah, it's an interesting song. You should check it out. So what's the how do we say, like, what is, and again, I still want us to get to a point where we say what is drawing people towards this artistic industry, and this is not just music, anything in general. Abude muklasi, or coming from a cultural family where they're saying Shaman and Dojkoro. Do you know what I mean? And then you end up being an artist that could either be Pamushkoro Church. Those equations, they make you think about different ways to make money, right? Because like they're not easy.
I'm thinking everyone has a story.
Fair.
Everybody has a story.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to speak for Jack and Jill, but according to my own analysis of the whole thing, I believe that music is a very safe space for rehabilitation. It's a good space for, we go through so much. Everybody goes through something. You get what I'm saying? So I think the music side of things, I think it's just a space where you feel like, yes, I can forget everything that has been happening and stuff like that. Plus, I believe that everybody has a gift, which is artistic. Everybody.
Everyone.
You don't have one, you just haven't discovered it yet.
But you've got one.
You're a good backing vocalist. You're probably a good DJ. There's some DJ in really, I'm trying to say. But yeah, plus the art, it's very diverse. So yeah, I think you always have your your space.
And how much would you say, Guti, because again, my artist, my doctor, everyone, what they're looking to make is money. And we've obviously established, Guti, the artists might not be making as much as they want to. And this could be due to the fact that a lot of the local people don't support local talent. I don't know. Have you been to a show before, Vanessa? Or like, what do you call them?
Concerts.
Gigs, concerts. Yeah. Have you
Zimbabwe,
been to one?
No.
Vanessa?
I think so. No, I haven't. Not in Zim.
So then, what's stopping you?
But I've been to several, like Oliver Mtukudzi concerts out of Zimbabwe.
Out of Zimbabwe.
Yeah. But in Zim, no, I did not. I grew up in Kenya. So there's several times Oliver Mtukudzi, when he was still alive, he came and performed in Nairobi. And obviously I went because I was like, what? I have to go and support Zim artists. Even though I didn't understand every single lyric he said, but I was there, Yeah.
Just for the support. Okay, so you're supporting local talent. That's fair.
I'm just trying to cross the border a little bit in Kenya. You have what? Calligraph Jones, is it from Kenya?
Yeah. Calligraph. He's a hip hop artist. Yeah.
I see. Interesting. Yeah. So we've people are not making as much money as they want, but they're still out there, right? We've got these guys that we know, and the funny thing in Zimbabwe is that the fame doesn't necessarily bring you. I don't know if this is general and across every country, but I know in Zimbabwe for a fact, the fame does not bring you the financial benefits.
It should, though, shouldn't it?
But it's not. Yeah. So in Zimbabwe, if you talk to those local artists and Mona Maridza Onengwachi charger for even coming to perform at a show, the famous people, it's really not much. It really seems as if a bit of a desperate situation where they are willing to work for solo, because then back as you talked about South Africa, and you get there, you just don't see celebs everywhere. Right? I was in South Africa. I think I was 18 years old. I was working at this hotel. I met Bonang. Do you guys know Bonang? Bonang is a Bonang Mateba or something like that. It's a South African. She's quite famous.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You just don't approach them. And now, as I was interacting with her, I just had this, this thing which is like, I just can't believe that it's happening. So this is the stature and the level, celebs at Kunzo, and they've got money to back it up. Right? She's working with 3-4 guys, the cameraman, manage big, make up, but then in Zimbabwe, you're seeing these guys.
They just on the road like normal people.
Does that not scare you though, going as an artist in that direction and saying, "Good, perhaps I can be famous. People will know me," but then,
I think because of it's very easy for you to become famous nowadays. I can run naked in the street. Hey, I'm all over Zim celebs.
Like everybody knows you.
Everybody's calling me KayC. And people actually celebrate that. People will celebrate that madness.
True.
So like you can easily just trend and etc. But when you talk of music is business, and I take music as business all the way. So personally, the way I've structured my stuff is pretty much different from just being on stage.
Yeah.
I do so many events where we behind the scenes and some where we on the scenes. But I think we really need to restructure, because all right, if you see that I can't go through this door because there's security and I'm some skinny guy and I'm definitely gonna get beaten, you have to find another entrance.
But you must get inside.
That's my translation. All right, if I can't, all right, if we're complaining, all right, YouTube this, all right, whatnot. Music business is more than just monetizing on YouTube. It's more than just, hey, I'm on stage and stuff like that. So I think I'm just, that's the lane I've taken. But yeah, we around all sectors, on stage, off stage. We can still make money. We can still make a living out of the music thing.
Do you also have sort of I don't know, like a sort of a backup, like an option? I don't know, like did you study something? Do you know, like a different field just in case?
Everybody's always asking, all right,
do you got a backup?
What's your backup? All right, you got Ramba. But the other thing is, Kuti, what makes you think that you know Ramba?
100%. No one knows for sure. And hey, so I feel like later you must.
I mean, I think it goes back to like you can't measure art. Yeah, because you could be super talented. You look at artists like Jaden Smith. Yeah. He grew up around that whole artistry, and you can tell that it's in him, because you look at Karate Kid, you look at his music. He's very well versed. Even his little sister, but it's difficult to measure, like, oh, this one is super talented, like Willow is more talented than Jada, or Jada is more talented than her. It's really, there are no parameters, numbers to measure it. Yeah,
and we coming from a space where I think, like you mentioned, obviously there are a whole lot of artists, but I think people are getting into the industry, they don't understand. I think that's the biggest problem. We don't have music education, because it's deeper than just entering the studio and recording music. There's so much into it. You have the whole distribution thing. You have a whole lot of stuff. As an artist yourself, you definitely need a team, because it's business. You're running a company. You need somebody doing management, you need somebody doing social media, you need somebody, because you can't do it on your own, especially when you're growing as a brand.
100%,
So I think that's just
in that way. I'm so glad you brought that up. The education, and just like the educational support that's there for my artists. Do we have schools like that? For example, the rappers and the singers in here in Zimbabwe. I've never heard of one, but like, how prominent is it? Yeah, it's just like stuff like that. Do we have that in Zimbabwe?
The funny thing about Zimbabwe, personally, I personally think Zimbabwean education is overrated.
Overrated?
Why? Alright, we're looking at, obviously we've produced a whole lot of, we always hear that we've produced
Robert Mugabe, yeah.
But you have nobody really plowing back into the country. And for us, obviously there are a lot of music professors out there. Not even, who came from Zim institutions, went to Canada, and they're running the biggest music academies that side. But this side, in terms of people really on the ground doing something, creating structures for the music, monetizing videos, and what, we really have nothing. So I think Zim, it's an issue of exposure, it's an issue of resources. Yeah, I think it's a mess in the arts.
This is like at this point.
It's a total mess. Yeah.
No, but you also mentioned something. I think it's really important. Like, a lot of the talented people, a lot of the gifted people, in whatever way, even if it's medicine or whatever, like they always leave Zimbabwe and they become established in another country, but they never bring back that knowledge, the wisdom that they have acquired and teach their own people like back home. They completely forget about home and they're just now building their lives wherever they are, of which it should not be like that.
I think a very interesting point you made, that the Zimbabwean education is overrated. And I'm not even kidding. I've met so many people where if you tell them you're from Zimbabwe, and they automatically assume you're a smart man. Right, and you obviously go further to prove them wrong later. But like initially, from that point that they meet you, they think, oh man, Robert Mugabe, the education standards, they're quite high. You go to South Africa, you tell them you're from Zimbabwe, they expect you to solve all the math problems, like alongside the teacher.
I've had the opposite experience of that. You tell people you're Zimbabwean, they're just like, this one.
No, that's quite interesting. I've done events in Botswana, in SA. You walk to an event, they ask you, where are you from? Sometimes you're like, you have second thoughts.
You're thinking about it, just like, because...
And I'm thinking about the next day,
yeah.
if they really get to know Kuti, we're from the other side,
yeah,
they're going to look at me differently. Because Zim itself has its own picture internationally.
It so does.
Zim, thinking potholes, thinking... You get what I'm trying to say?
And this comes from a country where people are supposedly very intelligent. So I felt like, this was after literally just like looking at the country and looking at its state right now and looking at what people say about the country. Previously, we had good educational standards. They were quite fine. Right? But then you ask yourself, well, we had that. Do we actually still have that, or people still think it's there simply because we once had it? But then looking at the country, looking at the economy, how does being so educated actually serve you, right? So you go out, you study, you become a doctor, you become whatever. And let's say you've had sort of another talent, which you didn't pursue simply because your parents would have not sort of encouraged you, the people around you would not have encouraged you. And you go out, you study and become a doctor, and you work in a country like Zimbabwe. It doesn't actually serve you that well. I would have opted if you somehow try and follow your talents, chances are how does education serve us? We're very educated people, but they're looking at the economy. The education, perhaps it's not what we should have, right? Or it's not even education at all, because it's not serving us well. We're living in a country where the economy is not very good. Everything is challenging. Artists are begging. People are not going to actually go to these shows. Why are these people not going? They got money. It's not like we don't like you people. We love you people, right? Just like we see you guys. Streets, we take selfies and all of that, but then that's what we can afford. It's like see you in the street and then all go crazy. When it's time for you to benefit from that, which is by doing shows, we don't have the money to actually come and support that.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking, let me just allude to that from a different perspective. Because, all right, the world has become one global village right now, and I think it's just an issue of mindset.
Yeah.
Your mindset is going to determine where or how far you go. And also, I've actually discovered a whole lot of people in Zim who are in the arts and doing the most from Zim. Someone staying in Belvedere doing the most in the States with his art and monetizing that art. So, all right, of course, there are things which you can't change and you just have to live with it. And because you've end up saying, your whole career you're just stressing about, hey, radio should pay me my money, they've been playing my song all year and stuff like that. I know a guy called Julio.
Yeah.
I'm probably know him from Twitter. His name is Julio Draws on Twitter. That kid creates art. He's in Zim.
Doesn't drawing.
Yeah, like what are they called? There's digital art.
Yes.
Yeah, not physical.
Yeah, digital. Yeah.
His stuff comes and appears in Wall Street, New York.
I think I've heard the story before. I just know his name, but I've seen that before somewhere.
Yeah, he's done stuff with Drake.
I know that guy. Was it like an album cover or something?
Yeah, he's the album cover and some funny artwork of Drake's thing. It goes further than that. Because of social media, you can definitely, jump a lot of, hurdles which are put our way by, lack of structures. Because him, alright, we're now stressing, alright, YouTube, we're saying radio, we're saying this, but the kid is like, nah, let me use Instagram.
It'll get me there quicker. It gets me there faster.
And it's not all about Zimbabwe. You can still make it out there. And I think everybody has their destination.
100%. So, like, is this you sort of encouraging and motivating? Tuna, you can go through and actually get some water. We should have had lots of bottles. But then, is that you sort of encouraging and, I don't know, telling young people they should look beyond the borders of Zimbabwe if they're going to sort of financially benefit? Because even though this Julio guy did great art,
yes.
who in Zimbabwe was going to come and say, this is talented and this is good, or here's $1,000 or something like that?
I think number one is know your market. Yeah, you definitely need to know your market.
You need to understand, because I'm not going to make money in Zimbabwe.
To go over you come in there with your English raps, in Bari. That's not your market, bro.
She's not going to consume it.
You get what I'm trying to say? That's number one. Number two is also an issue of originality and identity. Look at what piano is doing in South Africa. And I really had to give props for Zim dancehall as a culture.
As a culture, 100%.
As a culture. I think your other point when you're like, okay, why are there so many people joining music?
Yeah.
There are just so many artists.
I
think what Zim dancehall did was it really gave hope to the ghetto youths to say, through music you can.
This could potentially be my way out.
You could, that could be your exit, man. You can make it through this thing. You can have a car, you can have a house, you can, do your thing. So,
that's totally Zimbabwe. So, what got you into the genre that you do? Hip hop.
Yeah.
I mean, it was obviously the most prominent genre in Zimbabwe right now, or at least has been for the long. This is debatable.
Right about now, it's killing.
Is it? Well, I was about to say Zim dancehall has been, I think, since 2012. Yes. Yeah, it has been probably the biggest genre and the most followed. But over the last couple of years, not many. It's like 2-3 years ago, started getting to see the likes of Anna Holiday, the JT Votes, and young guys like you coming on. Could that have been a contributing factor? Kind of, would you've always been hip hop bound?
I grew up in Namibia. I've always been that hip hop guy. I mostly started off by writing.
When did you move back to Zimbabwe?
2018. But I'm always in and out because of events. But Zim is home big time.
So you're based here in Zimbabwe now?
Yeah, I'm based there.
Oh, okay. Pretty interesting. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What got you to Namibia? How'd you get there?
Yeah, I went to Namibia I think I was 4 or 5.
What year would that have been?
Started working that side. Yeah. My mom and dad moved that side, so we had to follow. So I grew up in Namibia. Speak Afrikaans. We do the whole language thing. That's I definitely started my music career in Namibia, but professionally in terms of recording and distribution and etc. I started doing it in Zim.
And what language do you use in your music?
My music, I use mostly English.
Because I hear the one song that you actually listened to was in English. So I was wondering, is that all you do, or do you?
These days, Truto mix are Shona.
Musanganisa.
The other thing about, I raise the point on identity, so the Shona needs to be there, they need to identify the Zim guy.
Saga Munutu is a Shona with my lyrics. And Man, I think, who do you think is the biggest artist? I don't want to mention the name, but then the biggest hip hop artist in the country right now as we speak? Ever, right? We're talking, go back to as far as Stana. I don't know if he's the past now or like he's a stupid of but you can go back as far as Stana and Maskire. Who would you say is the best in the country?
A number of people who have really paid their dues to the game. But right about now, there's certain things I look at.
What's that? What's that? What are these factors?
Impact.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at numbers.
Yeah.
I'm looking at what you've done with the money you've made.
Okay.
Because there's so many artists, the guy who literally to you, Perang Maskiri type of situation.
Yeah.
They had their time.
Yeah.
They had their time.
But where are they now?
Where are they now? What did they do?
What have they done with the money that they made? Yeah.
Personally, I think Holy 10 is yeah.
Bro, the brother is.
Yeah, he has done a lot.
His first, I think his first most famous song was Ndaremerwa. This was during COVID time. And I was listening to a couple of his songs not too long ago, and I was looking at the lyrical content.
Okay.
And the guy was probably 18, 19 at the time. The guy is talented.
Talented, smart.
Have you heard of, Holiday?
I know
Oh man, at
my
least.
gosh.
Like Vanessa, I expect you to.
Yeah, Holy 10, Volts JT is definitely doing his thing big time. So,
and I think you've done a couple of collabs with these guys. Do you?
I've been mostly doing
shows with them. Yeah, the collaboration in terms of shows. Yeah.
Shows with Holy 10. I've done something with Holy 10 at what's Murewa High. I've done shows with Volts JT. I think we're on our third show now.
With the guy.
Yeah.
Man, these guys are making moves. They're making moves.
Takura as well. Yeah. Quite a number of artists.
Takura is also. He's Zimbabwean. He's still based in South Africa.
No, he's here.
He's in Zimbabwe?
Yeah, he's in Zimbabwe.
Takura?
Yeah, he's in Zimbabwe big time.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure his story begins in...
events, I think he got a bit of a lean back during lockdown because he lost his passport, so he couldn't. But yeah, I think he's out and about with shows.
I see. But he's also one of the guys that started his career outside of Zimbabwe. And I would want to ask myself this question, Kuti. If a talent like that was in Zimbabwe, do you think he would have made it to the point that he has now?
He would have become popular, but financially, I don't think so.
How much are you charging for so let's say you do a show, how much is charged as in?
I think every artist has their own rate depending on the type of event.
Are you comfortable disclosing what you say your rate is at this point in town? It's like 100K. Yeah, that's the spirit.
100K. No, but it always depends on the business behind the event, numbers, where the event is, but rates always differ. Shows outside the country obviously pay more. In-house, they're there. Yeah.
But okay, so generally, I'm still looking at a number. Your last show, how much will people get paid to actually enter?
Well, for me, it's a bit difficult to disclose why. Number one, the way we structured my brand is, number one, we do the sound.
Yeah.
We do videography.
Yeah.
We do photography. So all this stuff are charged separately.
Ah, okay. So I meant as in entry fee, but show. Yes.
$5.
Is it $5? $10?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Because we're currently doing a school tour countrywide.
A school tour where you go to schools.
Yeah, different schools. So
what kind of schools? Like high schools?
Yeah, high schools.
Okay.
Primary schools. Yeah, but mostly
primary schools.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mostly high schools though. So yeah, I've done with Takura, Tanto Wavy, Volts JT, Holy 10, quite a number of artists. But the previous shows we've been doing, I think the last few weekends, I don't know when this podcast will be out, but yeah, last few weekends was mostly with Volts JT.
But that's a strategy that you guys have just picked up. Basically.
Yeah, fact.
Yeah. Because I know artists, I don't know if you know Camp Mula from Kenya. They're a group from Kenya. They no longer exist, but they were pretty big. And how they got big is just by going school to school.
Yeah, because the concept, we started the concept 2019. The first event we did under the tour was with Takura. Then COVID hit. Then and it hit hard because we couldn't do schools anymore. But now we like really now back on track, because I know High School Click in Ghana, they also do something big with schools. So yeah, that's a concept we're also pushing big time in Zim. Yeah.
Quite interesting. So I'm also very interested in knowing Kuti, your lyrical content. So I haven't listened to a lot of your songs, but then as I go back now, so I'm going to pay more attention to it. Like, is there any specific sort of like a message that you want to get out? So looking at, we were just talking about Holy 10. We know which this guy came out and started advocating for the girl child, and we've gotten a lot of people would actually follow him because he did that, and people liked him for that. Looking at his lyrics, his songs, the message. I think one of the best is Machios. Okay. Yeah, where he talks about the girl child and taking advantage and all of that, and I was like, damn, man, this guy is.
That's the first song I actually heard from him, and I was like, whoa, who is this?
I was looking at these comments, and you see mothers, right? It's like mothers of daughters. It's like, okay, this is music, right? And you're expecting these people to go and about Sungura and all the other things, but like they're like, it's pretty good music, right? So do you have a similar message? At the time, cricket.
I think it always revolves around youth engagement, participation. I'm big time I'm a youth advocate under an organization called Mwenjewedu Trust. Yes.
What's that organization? What those guys do?
It's an organization, a youth-based organization, which is owned by Professor Francisca Mutapi. She's based in Scotland. She's a professor at one of the biggest universities in Scotland, like some Zimbabwean gem. Yeah, so we mostly focus on youth. Trying to make sure we enable them to be able to reach, platforms and stages they want to reach. We've worked with the likes of Ngoni Makusha.
Ngoni Makusha, who's that guy?
He's the fastest Zimbabwean athlete, fastest 100-meter athlete in Zim.
Right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right now. He represented Zim at the Olympics.
Okay.
In Japan.
Oh, pretty cool.
2021. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
nice.
We helped in terms of finances, bringing brands on board. So we do that for a whole lot of other kids, disadvantaged from different backgrounds. So my story is always centered around young people. That motivation to say, you can really make it out from wherever you are. It doesn't even matter of location. Holy 10 came from Zimmer Park, man. Do you know where Zimmer Park is?
Not really, no. Where's that place?
You know who Holy 10 is?
I know Holy.
Yeah.
That guy, I know. Okay, I see. That's quite interesting. But where is Zimmer Park? Is that like a ghetto?
Nah, it's
far.
It's like it's along Mutari Road.
Mutari Road?
Yes. Along Mutari Road. If you're going to Maranja, right? Yes.
Okay, so I feel like I'm in Harare right now, but I feel like I'm exposing myself. Just like, dude, I'm exposing myself. Yeah, no.
It's big. And things are like really far away from each other. Yeah.
Is this true though? I feel like I've been to bigger countries in terms of population and everything.
SA is actually a lot better because you could be like, let's say, what area is this? What's this place called?
We're close to Cream.
Yeah, so like let's say you're in Creambone, but in Creambone you have everything that you could possibly need in that one area. So you don't need to go anywhere else. Whereas Zim, everything is far away from each other. You want to go to the supermarket, you're going to need a car. So yeah, it's different.
Oh man, and I heard good cars are not the easiest things to get here, considering the roads that you drive on. And I feel like these are comparisons that you should make. It's quite interesting. I think we all grew up out of Zimbabwe. Coming back into Zimbabwe, you can feel the difference, man. It's like you see it, you hear it. It's like man, you look at the roads, you look at do you taste well, in terms of taste, I think that might just be the only positive thing. No, considering where we're coming from. Okay. No?
No, not for me.
In terms of taste?
In terms of taste,
oh man, I feel like we consume quality food here, as in organic food too.
Organic, yes. But I can maybe because I got so accustomed to, I guess, the artificials. Coming to the organic, for me, it was like, oh.
Like this chicken is too hard. Like, I can't even break the bone.
Because I eat a very heavy plant-based diet anyway. So it's like I should have easily adapted but I did not.
Plant-based diet.
And then
Okay, that's not Zimbabwean.
You go to and you're expecting, because it's like I miss home.
Yeah.
And I went to this restaurant, it's in Kenya, it's in SA, and I love them in both Kenya and SA, and I tasted it here, and I was like, what in the world is this? I could not finish it. It was gross. Yeah.
We have so many negatives, which we obviously have young people working towards in terms of just getting it to.
I think in Zim obviously we have the negatives, but I think people really need to see the beautiful side of Zim. We're talking tourist attractions. We're talking good food.
Are these things that you also include in like the songs that you're just like showcasing Zimbabwe? Just like, because like the perception that everybody has about the country is that Kutugenda Zimbabwe is, so you're talking about tourists, right? I do a bit of tourism. At places where there are tourist attraction in Victoria Falls, I'm in Harare. Harare is the Heroes Acre, and I feel like these are some of the attractions. I went there the last time. I was kind of the only guest. I was like alone. I couldn't believe it. Right? I mean, obviously it was nice because then everything was like I could go wherever, just like the guide had all her attention on me and all of that. But then these beautiful things that people don't know about, and we're obviously looking at people that are like it's like artists, like showcase the country, just get people to sort of learn and get people to know.
I think artists are doing quite a good job in terms of showcasing and advertising them through music videos.
Is there anyone you're thinking in particular that's doing the biggest thing?
Ja Fraser, because he does a whole lot of outdoor
like features,
yes,
and collaborations.
up and
He's
down.
done,
So I think almost every artist. Myself, I'm having a music video coming out soon with Baga. We're shooting it in a location called Gazebo. Do you know it?
Where's that place? Is it here in Zimbabwe?
You will know it after the video. You see, so I think every artist is doing their part in terms of really advertising in the country.
And that really must be done. So you came from Namibia, ma Zogok Zimbabwean dar. Do you think of it as
the question I always get is, why did you come back?
That's like you were gonna get it again. It's like why did you? Why did you come back? And don't get me wrong, this is not to suggest what you shouldn't have. I'm actually commend you on that. I recently just moved back into Zimbabwe too. I spent most of my time in Zimbabwe now, after spending a good 15 years away from Zimbabwe in South Africa. So I totally understand the being homesick and wanting to, because Zimbabwe, it's already developed, right? There's not much development you can do there. But then looking at back home, it's like when I get there, I can actually make a difference. I can do this, I can do that. Right. So I do comment that. But I just wanted to hear from you, Guti. Why did you come back?
All right. I came back right after matric. My mom had moved back to Zen, so I had to.
That's probably 16 years old, 17?
No, that was 17.
17.
Yeah, thereabout.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So I came back.
So you were in Namibia since you were like a baby?
Yeah, since I was like 4 or so.
Do you speak Shona?
I speak Shona now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Shona yato nani.
Okay.
Like,
Do you know what I want to hear? I want to hear the two of you guys speaking Shona to each other. To be like, at that point, I'll just be like, I'll be asking you guys to stop. Just stop. Just speak Afrikaans or something. Just.
My Shona is alright.
What do you guys do? And this actually both for you, for both you guys. When you go to Kumusha, how do you get around stuff? And how do you get around people? And don't they have just this?
It's. I get people to do things for me really easily. Especially now if I'm in Musha, I'll just be like, what is that?
No, but like, how do you even ask them to do that? Because I feel like your Shona and their Shona is like two different versions of it's like a dialect. It's like complete. Because you don't.
I've actually been
Kumusha
once, and
no Shona.
Then she told her Shona, but Shona it's deep.
That's what I'm saying, and yours is not even like yours is like surface level.
Shona, mine is baby Shona. And I think everyone, like having a conversation with my grandma, like I was saying, there was just a lot of people would always just jump in to try and like help us to understand each other.
Yeah.
And also I guess because my Shona, like I said, it's real baby. So a lot of times like people just think, and also because light skinned, oh she's from Harare, all of that. She didn't even grow up in Zimbabwe.
Salad.
So everyone is like salala, all of this. And so, you know, things like lighting the fire, cooking, they'll be like, yes, yeah, kochinoita, you know. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. So I'll be sleeping and then I just wake up for the food. Yeah.
I need to answer your question in Shona.
I was like prove me wrong, Dara.
No, words are I said.
Yeah.
I'm trying to prove a point to Shona.
It was bigger.
Conversation is not about safe Shona proper.
But what I don't understand though is that I need a good person, and I'm not judging you. Like, you shouldn't judge me either.
Okay.
But I spent an equal amount of time out of Zimbabwe.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with my Shona is better. It's much more impressive. Kumba mam's got Shona. What languages would you be speaking with your Zimbabwean parents at home?
English.
Yes.
Throughout.
Yes, throughout.
You too.
Throughout.
English throughout.
Throughout, because like.
Sashona, where would you pick that up from?
I went to Namibia when I was 4. My sister was like still a baby, and my late little brother was born there in Namibia. So, growing up in an English environment, obviously English was just the main language there. So yeah.
But in Namibia, they speak more Afrikaans than English.
Namibia was a colony of South Africa, so
yes,
Afrikaans
is quite prevalent there.
Yeah,
everyone speaks it. All of the people.
No, not all of the people.
Which tribe does not speak
Namibia? Is Oshivambo. Right.
So that's the biggest group.
That's the biggest. That's like the Shona.
Can you say?
Yes.
I've never heard of that language.
Ongepi. Ongepi means how are you?
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that what you speak? You speak Oshivambo as well?
As well. Oshivambo, Afrikaans.
Damara?
Damara is too difficult.
Because I think that's the second biggest group.
No, it's not the second.
Which is the second?
Herero.
By over Herero, yeah. With the heads, with the tall, very tall ladies, yeah. I've seen them. I meet them all the time across it.
Animal farming, big time. So if you want cattle, that's the plug.
Go to them.
It's quite interesting. Okay, I see. And then you were speaking
we
English.
Spoke in English. We had a Kenyan auntie, so she taught us a lot of the Kiswahili that I know. But obviously also because like with my friends, we spoke English. I don't recall any of my friends ever speaking in Swahili. We always spoke in English. But now, you know, when you're going around, moving around and stuff, you learn the language there. But at home, English.
I have a few Kenyan. I have 2 Kenyan friends from the embassy.
Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Zimbabwean.
They're Kenyans.
Okay.
They're Kenyans, yeah.
Okay. I see. Makes sense. So I feel like this is probably where the problem. Can I call it that? This is probably where the problem was. No, because generally I also grew up in South Africa, but then over the years, the last few years that I spent in South Africa, we've obviously had a big population of Zimbabweans come in. Okay. Zimbabwe is Goni. Right, because we have, right, because you got Zimbabweans in Kenya, you got Zimbabweans in Namibia, you got Botswana, same situation, you got so many Zimbabweans, right? Essentially because the countries, they economically, they're just a little bit better. So I think that contributed, because then you could actually be in a community and think you're in Zimbabwe. Because there's just so many Zimbabwean people around.
I believe we have a bigger Zimbabwean community outside than here.
Is that a fact though?
What do you mean?
UK has almost 5 million Zimbabweans.
5 million?
Yes.
What?
Yeah. Check the stats.
Okay, that's a big number.
That's a big number. SA, alright, I'm not yet sure.
There's probably about 3.
SA is a lot.
4.
No.
3 probably documented.
Okay.
Yeah, so ish. Alright, probably half. Let's say we have about 10 million.
So they say the country has a total population of 15 million. And just does that include is just the guys who Zimbabwe? When they
I
talk
think
about
it's
it, is that
just
only Zimbabwe?
Yeah, they talking about them.
Yeah.
So 15 million only Zimbabwe. So we actually more than
I don't know how accurate the census is. I don't think it's that accurate. I think
I don't think
obviously
so.
want to be accurate to like the last.
Yeah.
we should be around 20 minutes.
Around 20.
Nah, we should be around 20.
No, because then now I'm looking at it quite differently. Because like this whole time I thought 15, but then now that I'm looking at it, this way, I think you might.
No, but he is right. A lot of Zimbabweans live out of Zimbabwe. A lot, plenty of them, and we're everywhere.
Probably in let's say in Botswana is a small country, probably like 1 million.
So Botswana is a total of 2.5 million. A million would be a big number. You need like, because I think Namibia as well. You guys are 2.5 as well. Maybe 500. Yeah. But then the issue with the Zimbabweans is that Kuti, once you, and I think you had mentioned this before, to say Kuti, muno from Zimbabwe, and then you go towards whatever country which you go to, you then become accustomed, not accustomed. In fact, you get the acculturation in Itika is so bad. Kuti, you end up actually becoming a Namibian. You end up actually becoming a Kenyan. We've got so many South African kids going to Zimbabwe, right? Or from Zimbabwe. Sorry, Zimbabwean kids who are in South Africa. This person is a Zimbabwean, right? Because they've just become the acculturation that has happened between these countries, and Munuku. They literally just change and become that. I tell them what's okay because just like stay there and just like don't come back. Yeah, don't come back, because then you're going to dilute. Because we cultural people, right? A lot of us are. I mean, don't get me wrong. Zimbabwe is the best country in the world. But I'm going to dilute. Namibia and Kenya. When you come back, are you still as Zimbabwean as we want you to be?
No.
Yeah,
I mean, think the same way. You don't behave the same way.
Should you guys even be allowed to vote?
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, would you be 15 years out of Zimbabwe and you just come back, choose a president? You're like, exactly. There should be a law. You should not be allowed to vote, people. But to be fair, we obviously want and encourage everyone to actually vote, because there's a lot of voting that has already happened before it happened. But is that politically? Were you ever concerned with the matters of Zimbabwe, or have you just always been okay? This is my life right now. I'm in Namibia. I'm doing what's his name? Pohamba. I'm doing.
I think out there it was more of we're not really connected to Zimbabwe, to be honest.
Is this your parents as well, or just you?
I think all of us. Emotionally, physically, mentally, no. I think when we moved back there, so I'm like, oh, okay, it's him. Oh, the rate up.
It doesn't make sense.
Make sense. When you're reading it through the newspapers, they say you're just like, oh, it's him. Yes, right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Type of situation. So now that you're on the ground, you're like, yo, you really need to, and it's very irresponsible for you not to want to participate and
get involved with it. Yeah. 100%. Is it not too late though?
Why would it be too late?
I don't know, because it's like, is it not conflicting, right? Just like life in general. Kuti, you are partly, not partly, you're full Zimbabwean, but you're partly Namibian.
No, 100% Zimbabwean.
100% Zimbabwean.
Genetic.
Born and raised here. I just lived in another country.
This is like super new to me. A lot of the people that I meet that have been in a similar situation. I was born in Zimbabwe.
Okay.
Like 200% Zimbabwe. But like a lot of the young people that I meet, most of the time. So I grew up in a place where you'd actually get people, you get people actually giving you these funny countries. Like, I've come from this place, but Zimbabwe.
Here, to be honest, Zim with so many foreigners, man. I think that's probably the first time I've called any other person from Zim a foreigner. And nobody cares. You can hear, this accent is Nigerian. So what?
But why do you think that is, though?
I think Zimbabweans are generally peaceful people.
We're friendly.
They really have that Ubuntu that Julius Malema is always preaching about.
Well, that's totally fair. But then a part of me feels good. The people that call you an alien, and the people that actually physically attack you, like xenophobia, South Africa and Namibia. Namibia, I don't know, do you guys have those problems, xenophobia? Maybe not so much, but considering you're very much influenced by South Africa, they would feel kuti they've got more to protect than you would. If we ask you right now, what are you protecting? Jobs. What jobs? Do you know what I mean? So I think it's also that factor kuti maybe foreigners because chances are we don't even think they're jobs at all. So like the guys in South Africa, they say kuti.
I think it's more of a mental issue.
Do you think so?
Yes. Yeah, it's a mental thing, because the same person saying you're taking our jobs, bro, I have a degree in marketing. You didn't even finish matric, bro. You can't wanna work at MTN with your grade 9. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, should have, yeah.
Because the people who should be complaining have jobs, to be honest. So I think it's just a mental situation. It's just, and most of the time the people being interviewed are people in the streets. The streets, obviously, drugs. Guys, would be really, to be honest, if you really wanna zoom in and be like, okay, these people complaining about Zimbabweans apparently taking jobs. Who is? Where does he stand educationally? Yeah, that's when you'll be like, yo.
It shouldn't be that way. So you from this country, you say you don't have an ID in Namibia. Why do you not have? Because of 15 years, I feel like, according to the law, you should have an ID. What's that story?
I forgot. But you mean I have same identity document.
This whole time. So like, what documents do you have? If you don't mind disclosing, what documentation would you have in?
They don't question you like.
I've never been questioned in Namibia.
In Kenya, that's different. Like, even if you present your Zimbabwean ID or passport, I feel like presenting your passport is even worse. Like, because you're just gonna get bombarded with more questions, and it's like you're suddenly a criminal. Yeah. So yeah, that's why I always work with my.
I think it was because I was young, and almost everybody, even until now, I have my fans from Namibia were like, "Oh, you're still in Zim? When are you coming?" Like, they actually think I'm Namibian.
Yeah.
Big time. Yeah. Even like, I think if you go on Google, I have awards like for DSCD, Youthoughts awards, Columbus Time. Columbus Time, that's my first name. They say the Namibian, whatever. There are a lot of articles which say I'm Namibian. And people actually think I'm Namibian.
But then on paper, you're not Namibian. And I had a similar situation in South Africa. I've been there for a very long time, but I don't have a South African ID. I had a refugee status, for like the longest time. And I've just never been South African that way. I feel like this is also what contributed to me just like not rejecting Zimbabwe, to say I'm not Zimbabwean. Because we've got a lot of Zimbabweans who are like that now in South Africa. Say, I'm not Zimbabwean. They'll tell you I'm Congolese. They'll tell you I'm Angolan. They'll tell you I'm anything else but Zimbabwe.
Do we like being Zimbabwean? Like, are we proud of being
I love being Zimbabwean.
Yeah.
And I always look at the positive side of things, you know. I think one of our biggest pride in Zim is our land, bro.
The land.
Yeah.
Do we have too much land?
We have a lot of land.
Good land.
And we can get land easily. We can afford land if you hustle. Unlike in South Africa, bro. In SA, you have somebody who has been working for the longest time, but doesn't have own land.
To actually get land. And oh man, I'm so interesting that you brought that. And I've got this chart that I was looking at not too long ago. So these are the countries in Southern Africa. So we've got Angola, Botswana, Lesotho, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, Swaziland, United Republic of Tanzania, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. Of these countries, here are the percentages of individually owned land. Right, so we just only talk about the relevant ones. South Africa has 72% of land individually owned, and obviously 72%.
Yes.
It's already taken, and I can tell you a lot of it would have been taken way before the democratic South Africa. So there isn't actually much land left
Okay.
Communal lands of South Africa is 14%, and other public lands only 14%. So we're talking about a very big population, which will only has 14% left to talk about, or at least work with. Zimbabwe has 36% individually owned, 42 communally owned, and 22% other public lands, it says. So this basically illustrates exactly the point that you were talking about, because we still have opportunity to actually buy land, because we still got plenty. Because and I think a big part of it is due to the policies which were introduced by Robert Mugabe, which are obviously controversial. Some people feel it was a good thing. We're talking about the land reformation, the way in which it happened. Some people feel, well, perhaps it wasn't as nice.
Everything that has to do with revolution, obviously, according to history, sheds blood always. And it's either you get it rough or you never get it.
Ooh, okay, that's powerful. That is powerful.
If people couldn't have died, right now we couldn't have land. Facts.
And that is quite powerful.
Somebody had to die, bro. That's why Malema is like, nah, I'm not scared to die.
Yeah.
Because they know they're fighting for a revolution. And there's nobody's just gonna, the white people in South Africa are not just gonna say, yo, land, you want land? Oh,
Here,
come take
it.
Come, this one I'm not using. It's never gonna work like that.
You can have it. So Malema even goes to say, if you see land and it's vacant, take it. Oh man, that's an interesting guy. So, in Namibia, I think very, very interesting land. I was reading about it not too long ago. Land reformation, which happened in 2005. So your guy says, I think at the time it was what's his name, the guy with the beard, Unioma. So he was saying that they introduced this policy. The policy, the land reformation program, is based off of the concept of willing buyer, willing seller.
Yes.
So to say, as the white people, which is the Germans and South Africans, the Boers who were occupying the land, if they want to sell it to the government, only then can the transition then happen. If they decide not to, there's no land reformation that's happening. And I was like, perhaps South Africa didn't even have a land reformation program at all. Namibia will probably be the weakest, in contrast to like the Zimbabweans and what Robert Mugabe did and all of that.
I think the Namibia situation, I personally believe if I go to her house, I cannot go to her house and tell her, the position of that TV is not nice. I want to put it this side. Right? That couch. I need to put it.
Just repossess it. Put it somewhere else. Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is, white people are really coming to Africa and telling us how things should be done, and telling us now this should be here, this I own, this I don't, and then the indigenous people remain with nothing. That's what the revolutionary parties are fighting for right now. Even in Namibia right now, they're like, nah, the issue of land really needs to, and it's something you can't run away.
What's that party? SWAPO?
No, that's not SWAPO. That's Namibia. There is now the EFF also there.
The EFF is in Namibia.
Yeah, it's called
Serious?
Namibian Economic Party. With the likes of Job Panda, with the likes of Michael Amshelelo. Yeah, they're fighting for a good cause that side.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, man. I didn't know that. Saka, obviously, with all these revolutionary parties, what they're not happy about is the way in which all of this happened, right? So we're talking about the coming of the Westerners, and we're obviously going to delve into a little bit of history here. Please stay with me.
Yes.
Our African countries obviously colonized, right? When you think of the benefits of colonialism, now to be fair, there's a great deal of bad things that happened and all of that. But would you not say, Guti, they were benefits that we would have gotten in terms of the culture, in terms of how we lived life? Now, I'm proudly African, don't get me wrong, but I can still say, Guti, I'm happy that the flushing system was introduced.
Okay.
Right? Like, no. Like, genuinely, because then what did we have? We had my long drop. What do you call them? Pit latrines.
Not even pit latrines, as in you just go.
Oh, you just go, yeah. It's like literally, and so when then white man comes and he introduces and says, "Whoa, flashing system, you can use this, you can do this." I would say I would be somewhat grateful.
It's
Now,
good
I'm not
in
happy
that
with the
sense.
interaction and how it happened in the sense of you had to enslave me first in order for me to get that. You know, that part I'm not very happy with. I see if I have an operation now or if I break my leg, you know, instead of just herbal medicines around the broken bone, you can actually do operation, say, whoa, let's try and put it together. And
No, I don't like that one.
I would love to.
Going under the
That's
knife.
a good-
I would love to disagree to a certain extent.
Uh-huh.
Looking at it from a perspective of like, all right, the raw materials used
Yeah.
to advance technology
Mhm.
of whatever sort
Yeah.
came from Africa. What made the white people think we're not able to get that advanced? Because if you really look at it, Africa was like really advancing. Slow but sure. There are certain things which we didn't.
Like how slow though?
No, there are certain things which we didn't worry about because
Like, we weren't stupid, that's for sure.
No. I don't even think that they.
Because there are some
Oh, a lot of
black
them thought
people
that we were.
invented-
Yes, a lot of them thought that. Yeah. Please.
There are a lot of black people that invented, you know, I don't know, I can't say specifically what, but there were a lot of people black people that invented things that we are using today that
undocumented
are really,
black people.
Exactly. Or it was taken by a white person. They
Yes.
rubbed out the black person's name and they put a white person's
I mean,
name.
do you guys have examples of this? Because I feel like as long as we don't, I'm not saying it's not true, but then I'm saying that
It makes
maybe
a lot
we
of-
can't.
It makes a lot of sense. Why? Because everything.
Like, hapana hana chinuwanja, gadzirwa nemunomutema.
But
you can't work
everything that.
That is a lie.
Everything. The videographer behind the scenes, for example,
Yeah.
knows
Mhm.
that media came from white people. White people control what you read. From ECD, all those books, is
Written by
white
white
deciding
people.
why. They should know this about photosynthesis. That's it. The guy only tell what? If anything, what? If anything, whatever that you
I
learn
know
is
that,
not
I know
proven, whatnot, then it's not true type of situation. There are a lot of things which we have been taught at school, which
Yes, Ndaremero. I know, yeah, 100%. Ndaremero. Now, I mean, man, I totally understand where you're coming from. I feel like sometimes it's more of a, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying good. I love all people and I like all people. I see at the same time, including my own people, kana tanga tisina kudzisonezo photosynthesis, let's say that comes from a white man. Do you think that, how long would it have taken us to get to a point where we actually learn about photosynthesis?
Who's to say that we didn't know about
who's
it?
to say that we didn't know? Have you ever? The San people, the KayC.
The question people, yeah.
Those people know about photosynthesis, big time.
Why do you say
The
that?
medicine we use right now,
Yeah.
which are in pharmacies, which Indians and white people think they're the ones who create, they go to the sand people. A lot of remedies come from the sand, but have you ever seen a sand person in class? No.
So you're talking about photosynthesis. Why did you
Yes,
say
yes.
they understood photosynthesis? Do you have anything to back that up?
How are they able to live out there without that understanding?
Well, no, we lived too.
Yeah, but
How
the
are they
way
able
we
to survive?
lived is,
No,
you know.
there's the living side.
But did you know
then
the
there's
xylem and the phloem and the chlorophyll and the sun, because all of that stuff. Now here's evidence that you didn't know because you didn't have names for it. Right? What do you call it? Chlorophyll and
We
xylem
wouldn't
and
know
phloem.
about it if we didn't go to school to learn about it. But I think what he's trying to say is that these people, they grew up in nature, with nature around them.
No, so
they
did
didn't have
we.
to be taught about it. They just
Lived.
they
Yeah,
lived
but then
it,
this
and
is
I
an
guess
advancement,
observed-
right? In you can argue that it's unnecessary. We were still surviving without it, but then now you know, it's probably something to be grateful for. Now again, I'm not saying the interaction in terms of enslavement and colonization that was nice. No, it's not. But then for the things that we learned, for example, the education system. Take this and I say, your dad would be the one to teach you everything that you know. Your mom will be the one to teach everything that you know. Now you sit in a class where you actually get an expert, a person who's in that field, who knows more. We didn't have an education system that way, and I think these are some of the things that should really be appreciated from what we were given by the Westerners. I feel like there's plenty to appreciate if you were to look at a lot of different things.
I definitely appreciate education. education. I think it's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the important things that we need as people, as
Mm-hmm.
humans. But, like, I don't know. It's like the white people, they just chose what to feed us and what not to feed us.
Mm.
Like, they brainwashed us. The way they approached it, it was like brainwashing. Because,
But how do you?
like type of situation.
What does that mean?
What I'm trying to say is, all right,
you
you get that. You get that someone from another country comes, they don't have these things in their country, and decides to either snatch them from you or give you something that you don't have
Mm-hmm.
in play, so they take what you have because they don't have it their side.
Mm-hmm.
And then they sort of create value for that and develop that.
Beyonce did. Yeah.
They develop that and say we're the ones who made it. What I'm saying is, all right, cool. They came here, steal diamonds, went there, made rings, and the ring is now $1 million. We are the ones who made them.
Okay, so my one question to you is, and I'm not saying you lie, but my one question will simply be, what were you doing with the diamonds before they took them?
Nothing.
So what are you angry about?
What we
I'm
angry
kidding, you
about
should-
is
But
I
do you get the
honestly
sense?
really
Do you get the
nothing.
sense?
Yeah.
Do you see this again? So
Alright,
these guys came, they discovered a lot of these minerals that we did nothing. These things are only valuable to us now because they actually taught us the value of these things.
Yeah.
Are they actually valuable? Maybe they're not. They're still they're valuable. But we're still following. And Saka, perhaps if you were given something and you're not using it, then perhaps it makes it doesn't make it okay, but then it's understandable if a person who then comes and says, "Ooh, you're not doing that," especially if they kill you and they hurt you, then that's not nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think you do have much to complain about if you were with the mineral that you're not using very much. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not for colonialization. I do think that it was not very nice, and my job, this is literally what I do. I talk about these things and we try to 100%, especially when we have more time. I see we should actually be getting towards the conclusion of the podcast episode today. Man, we've done
We talked about it a lot. I feel like we also diverted as well.
I feel like in terms of content, we've touched on a lot of different subjects, and it has been obviously we're not experts in these things that we're talking about, so please bear with us, people. But it was actually quite informative. But lastly, when is your next show, Chibaba, and your next song? What would you say that's about? What are you writing? I'm really concerned about the message now. What message are you bringing out in your next song, in your next project? And we definitely should share that, and we will share it with everyone that follows Youthoughts. But what should we be
I
expecting?
have quite a number of projects with different things. But the song I can think about right now, which we're about to shoot, is a song titled Handi Kumawere, featuring Baga and
Baga, you said Baga is from Zimbabwe. Okay.
Yeah, check him out.
He's
check
from
him
where?
out.
Zimbabwe.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's doing his thing. So basically talks about, what does it talk about? Talks about going to the extremes with your woman.
Okay.
Basically saying, no.
Are you a married man? No, girlfriend.
Girlfriend, no.
Girlfriend is like, oh man. Plus, I feel like that's not the safest question to ask an artist. The Zim artist, right?
But no, not yet. Probably in the next few years, but yeah.
Not yet. I'm not gonna get people shocked. Just be like, what does he mean on the comment section? Just like, what does he think I am? Because you guys have a tendency of doing that. I feel like that's part of the hip hop culture. Because you know how we talked about not having the best financial benefits, but in terms of ladies, you guys are covered. You got nothing to complain about.
It's an issue of, we always have the camera there. But there could be a doctor doing the most, man. Just because they don't have cameras that side.
No, but you're right though.
When a doctor enters the club, bro, You know, there are weird guys when you enter the club, you're like, this guy's like 7 hands on one table. What? But nobody cares about him. But the cameras are now on us.
Yeah.
If there are 2 people here, they're like, yeah, KayC is doing his thing. But nah, it's not always the case. So it's not always the case. And I think people always have that idea in their mind. An artist? Mark one. Of course, we have women all over.
Yeah. Oh man, you do.
Hey, I'm trying to defend.
Like you're not making it.
Would that be also your style of? I don't know if it's a style, you know, not a genre. I mean, the genre is the hip hop is a genre, but like your style of rapping, Aguti. You talk about, you know, it's what you talk, and I feel like a lot of the controversial conversations about the genre is that they talk about, you know, the girls a lot, they talk about money, they talk about, you know, the private parts, they talk about drugs and all the bad things. Is that also in your music? Is that?
Well, I personally don't do drugs. I've never done drugs before.
But do you sing about them though?
I can sing about what I don't do.
Saying do it or don't do? What do you say about it?
I say don't do it.
You say don't do it.
Yeah,
You say don't do
I
it.
say don't do it.
Okay.
I'm also part of some like anti-drug abuse campaigns, whatnot at schools and stuff like that. So definitely that's an area which is very close to my heart. So yeah, definitely that's not my area, but I rap or sing about anything else. I rap about what I see. I've seen people do drugs.
And since you have a song coming up about going to extremes with women, what do you see about women?
Oh, what else? What the song translates into is good to see. Alright. Obviously, we all have, some people have their one person who has always been close to them, probably growing up, or someone you met along the way who you really feel comfortable with. But as time goes on, you become very exposed to a lot of other women and a lot of other things, right? And then you sort of forget where you come from. You sort of forget the person or the people who have been there for you. That's what we say. Because, all right, you've now reached a point where probably that's your breakthrough, right? And don't forget where you come from. Those are the same people you should ride with, no matter how much money you now have.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, all right, no matter the situation, if we stay in the ghetto with my woman, we can still do the most. We can still be there for each other. And it doesn't make sense for you to have 19 chicks. What for?
It's like one salary.
You can.
Yeah. No, just generally, because then these are the things that confuse us as men. You know, you make a couple of bucks and you think, well, I can now feed the world and all the women in the world. You know, it's like, and we also unfortunately have women, a lot of women around, not all of them, a lot of them,
Yes.
which is like, yeah, I will come, I'll just happily chow your money,
Yes.
and then but yeah, that is quite interesting, my man. I must say, people, that this has been probably one of the best conversations we've had on the podcast. We've only had 2 episodes so far, but then it has been
Getting better.
it was actually quite fun. I've had so much fun. Just before we close off, just what word would you like to get out there, my man? You are the special guest on this episode. Just a final word.
Final word.
And then Vanessa, and then we are peacing out.
Well, what I can say is 2023, moving forward, as young people, I think we should become more responsible.
Yeah.
I think we get into circles where there's a whole lot happening, but I think, what's the word in Shona? Rebatting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold yourself.
You know, hold yourself, hold your cheeks.
Yeah.
Hold your,
Ooh.
No, for me, I would just say, you know, we're all young, we're learning, we're growing, and let's keep it at that. Let's keep it clean and do what, you know, follow your purpose. Follow what what is your heart telling you? Do that.
Yeah.
Let's keep it 100.
Man, we love you, people. So ladies and gentlemen, we are peacing out. See you guys on the next episode. Now, this is, again, I must emphasize, the podcast is for all youths, the focused, the unfocused. Mese, tutongokudai kutumite, just contribute to just like everyone. It's like the ones that know what they're doing, the ones that don't. So yeah, we do appreciate your support. Follow our socials, subscribe on YouTube, and please give us comments, the conversations you want us to have, the people you want us to talk to.